Hello everybody, this is Carol from Friendly Quail. When I made my last video, I did not think it would take me this long to come back with another video. But I said I was going to do cabinet cards, and I'm going to show you some that I've made. And then just explain a little bit about it, and then I'll make some with you. I've got some things cut out so you can see how I did it. I thought I'd be able to come right back, but I thought this was what I made for Journey Through Bookland. And this is why I did it. I had these. This was pages from the actual books from the Journey Through Bookland. I had to have like 4 of them. They were authors who were in this in the books. So I didn't have any type of a cutout that would fit this oval. So I ended up using this label cutout like this and putting black behind it, which actually I think looks pretty good. And then these were the ones I was using. I got these. These are from Sizzix. And then I was using these. Now, I got these from Amazon, and they were cheap, and that's because they're cheap. They were all held together with little, they were like all stamped out at the same time, and they had little things all holding every one together. So they didn't break. There was no way you could break them apart. So I asked my husband, who's got a lot of tools, if he could help me, and he ended up breaking them apart, cutting them with an angle cutter, and then using a sander to take off the burrs so I could use them. And, you know, they work once I got them apart, but I had not read the reviews on Amazon, and people said they tried to get them apart and they were useless because they broke and they bent and all of that. So I did end up using those. And I found one that was small enough that the whole thing could go behind it, and I made a few like that. I stamped a few things on. I had found this little tiny stamp. I'm not even sure what it says, but it looked like a name to me, like it would be a, what do you call it? Like a photographer's studio or something. And I'm not making mine like the real cabinet cards, where I put a name on the back and I put them on really heavy stuff. I'm doing it as a journal card. So, you know, I have paper on the back, and I can use it as a journal card. But I made some. I tried different stamps. I had this little king stamp, and I tried that. I tried just some, what do you call it? Stars. And I made a few like this. Then I used one of my old ones, and I cut a bigger thing, and I put black behind it. And that's Edgar Allan Poe. And I like that. That one worked out okay. And I had this, which is, it cuts out and embosses at the same time. I had to cut out a few of them to try it. And so I put that, like I glued that on this one. And I kind of like that too. Then I thought, what if I emboss? So I did one like this, but I embossed it first, and then when I cut it out, it squished down the embossing, so it's very faint, but it's still there. This one I embossed after I cut out the hole, and you know, that's kind of interesting. I embossed this one after I cut out the hole. This one I used vintage photo on. This one I used antique linen, and I just used the pad itself and went over it before I put her in there. And that, that's kind of an interesting card. It's not like a real cabinet card. Then I tried stamping. This is an overall stamp that I used for, I put it on the whole piece and that I had cut out and put a picture in there. And, it's okay. This one here, the picture doesn't look very good because I have brush marks on it. I tried using like a wood stain on it, and I have brush marks. And I had done the front of it, or this part too, and I did not like it because it just looked really blah. So I turned it over, and I had been trying stamps out on the back of this paper. So, and some of the stain kind of came through, so I left that. So it's not the greatest, but it's an idea. And then this one, I cut out a frame and put a picture behind it. And then I used Distress Oxide, not oxide, just Distress ink. And I had put it all over on here, kind of like I did for this one. So I decided, well, I'm going to put a little water on it and see what happens. And this is how it turned out. And I kind of like that too. I have a card on the back of it that I had done in the oven. So, those are just some of the ways I came up with. And I'm going to show you how I did some of these. And I have some pieces cut out. And guess what? My next video is going to be, I'm going to take all of these that I cut out of these things and make labels out of them. So we'll see what happens. So this is one that was embossed before it was cut out, so it's kind of smushed down. And this will fit on here, but it's such a small edge to glue onto that I decided I would glue it onto another piece of paper. And this paper won't show, but it'll give me the ability to glue it on a little bit easier. I was experimenting with printing these out, so some of them I have a good side and a bad side. All right, so if I put her onto this piece, and then, let's see, I'll let her dry a little bit, and I'm going to make go up a little bit, or down a little bit, there. I'm going to use some Distress ink on it, and I found that if I use this and I start on the outside, I don't get marks from the brush or the dauber. So I'm just going to kind of do that. Whoops, see, I didn't start on the outside. Darn it. I got that on there. But then I would glue her on the back like this by using this. And I put a little bit of glue around the oval. And then I put some on the outside of the square so that it'll glue in both places. And then very carefully place her on the back. Now, if you use really thin paper to put on the backing, this kind of shows through this ridge. So you could cut that this size. I did that with the Edgar Allan Poe one after I cut the black pretty much the same size as the front, so that I could do that. And then once you get, I could have gone around this edge a little bit, which I didn't do either. Ugh, forgetting things. So once you have it glued onto the paper, and then you can distress the edges, you can stamp on it. And my little tiny stamp with the name on it, it's really little, and I'm using archival ink for that. This happens to be Ranger potting soil. And even with it embossed, I can put that name on the bottom. So I kind of liked how that turned out. But this was how I did some of the other ones. Now this one, I had this little guy here, and let's see, which ones was I on? I had them stacked up, but this doesn't look right. This looks like, I think I'll put him up here to keep him out of the way. Yeah, I think this one was one I was going to try to wet like I did that other one. Get it all ready and then I forget what I did. Typical, right? Actually, I could even use my dauber because I want a lot of ink on there. And this is cardstock, but it's a really lightweight cardstock. So it kind of is a little wimpy. Turn this on. I'm going to put a little water on there. And then you kind of get that like it was in the basement and it got wet. Look, and then I'll let that dry before I put the little guy behind it, but it'll be kind of like that. So that one is going to get put aside to dry. So that was kind of how I did that. That was like this. You gotta wipe this up. Because I don't want to get water on the ones that I don't want water on. Okay. Now, I said I did this one by just rubbing the antique linen over it. So this is what I did. And that gives it a completely different look. I made this one a little darker than that one, but it gives it a different look. And then he's kind of gray, so I'm going to put antique linen on him as well. Oops. And you can use a dauber for this too, but this is kind of dry, so it works. It works fine. And then he is going to get glued on like this. Now, this is a little bit smaller hole, but you can get it on like that if you're careful. by going around the edge of this. And then centering it very carefully. Wish I could remember who all these people are, but a bunch of them I never heard of before, or I didn't recognize them because I've never seen their pictures. So that one would be kind of like this one then. All right. Then, because I was embossing, I had an embossing folder, and these were the other ones I used. It's like this, and this one is a postmarks. And then this is actually, I think it was a Christmas one. I got it at a rummage sale because there's a tree here. But if I put it upside down, then it just looked like a different kind of thing. And I thought, well, what if I try some of those? So I have a picture of this lady here. And this, I cut the hole so that this picture would fit in it. And then I embossed it. And I got it kind of not quite in the center, so it's a little bit less at the top than the bottom, but I thought that turned out to look pretty cool. So let's try this. I haven't tried it on something like this, where it wasn't all embossed. I don't know how exactly it's going to turn out. I think that's going to look kind of cool. I think I need to do it a little bit more on the bottom here, since I got the other stuff kind of darker. And then I'm going to put glue around the edge of this. A little bit harder to glue embossed because there's dents, but it will work. And I'm going to put a little bit of it around the edge of the square that I cut out. This is an image I just found online, and it's no copyright. All right, put that down. Now this one, it kind of just shows the edge of the frame that was already on there. It's the same color as the antique linen, kind of. I thought that turned out pretty cool. I like that. And now I'll put, you know, paper on the back and distress the edges and all that once it's all dry. This one, this picture I love because it reminded me of my mother. I have a picture of my mother when she was a little girl, and she had the same haircut. And she was born in 1925. I'm going to distress this picture because it's kind of gray. I'm going to use my antique linen and hope it looks okay. It didn't turn out the greatest. Kind of dirty looking. Won't do that again, but I will, I think, do this again. Again, I'm going to put glue around the outside. This one I got centered a little bit better. so it's pretty even around the edges. And this one has the gold around it, and then just probably a tiny, tiny little bit of the black around that shows, so it frames it right in there. Oh, I like that one too. Next time I wouldn't use the pad on there though. Okay, so then I found this little girl, and she would fit right in one like this. So this I embossed, and I need to do something with the distress ink. So I think I'll use Vintage Photo and do it lightly. Now this little girl, that's actually, I don't know if that's the color of it or if somebody colorized it. She actually looks like she has a pink dress on. Which cabinet cards were in black and white. But since these aren't real cabinet cards, or trying to make it look like exactly a real cabinet card, I figured that's okay. I can do that. Yeah, and I'll put something around this oval. So I had such a mess in my room. I had stuff all over the place trying to do this. And I had so much stuff going on. That's why I haven't been able to make a video very much. Now, I'm in a play in my community. It's a comedy. And I've been rehearsing for that. We don't put the show on until I should stay really close to the edge, because I'm not sure how far in this goes. I should have stayed closer to the edge up here. Anyway, it's a comedy, and it's one of 5 plays that a group that were called the Gray Pretenders, because we're all retired, and we're putting them on in our community in March. Okay, let's see. Gotta make sure I don't have anything off the edge, like down there. So even though these aren't like real cabinet cards, I could have just stressed around this edge. I forget to do the oval part. But I think that looks very kind of Victorian. I love that one. Now, another one I had made was this one where I stamped. And so I stamped another one. And I found I'm going to distress it with Vintage. Oh, I did it again. Start off the edge, Carol. Now what I have is this little girl to go in here. So maybe since I did that, I'll experiment and squirt a little water on it. See what it looks like. This one's the thinner paper too. Now it has to dry, but it'll probably be good. I'll let it dry a while and then I'll put it together. See, here's how this other one that I wet before is looking. As it dries, it's still damp though. As it dries, it looks a little bit different. Okay, now I'm laying that up. I have my actually have my laptop laying up here. I'm laying it on top of it. This one goes here. She'll go with the other one. Clean it up. Now this picture, she looked a little pink too. I must have got those from the same place. So I tried using pink to put around it. And I've already distressed it and it's okay, but I don't like it as much. I like the vintagey looking. I could have put a little bit of vintage photo on her to tone that pinkish down. But that's one that I could do it like that. So we'll just put her on. All right. Now, some of these photos too aren't really what a cabinet card would be because those were professional photography that was done in a studio. So it was very this professional looking, where this one is somebody took a picture of her out on her bike. But I still thought she was cute in that I would use her. So that's what that one will look like. Now I have more backgrounds, but I am not going to do the same thing over and over again. So I'm going to end with this, and I'll take a picture that I can use as a thumbnail with all of them laid out so you can see them. I'll wait for these to dry, and I'll put those on top, the ones that I wet. And I'll put those on top. And so you'll be able to see how they all turned out. And then next time, we'll see what we can come up with for all of these inside parts I cut out and make labels. So I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully it won't be very long. I'll be working on it now. I was also doing a course for art therapy, and I had to have a big painting done 3 by 4 feet. So that's all I worked on for like the last week, but it's done. So I will say goodbye for now then. See you in the next video. Bye.